Hi, this private market spacing model lets you plan commitments, predict cash flows, and report on actuals. It's structured into two main parts: model based on actual commitments that you've done already, and a model on planned commitments. Here are a couple dashboards we will go through, as well as several input sheets. The report on actuals is based on a pivot table and lets you report on major KPIs, such as commitments, undrawn commitments, goals, as well as performance KPIs, such as TPIs, DPIs, RRRs. The KPI series shows several charts, as well as timelines for all these major metrics. Allocation dashboard shows what's your exposure into different sub-asset classes, such as buyout, growth, real estate, venture, or whatever you pick to define. It shows you planned commitments. It shows you exposure to geographies and exposure to private versus public markets. You can click through different views, such as actuals, glide, which is your current portfolio projected forward, and flight, which is your current portfolio plus all the planned commitments. This switch is available in most of the dashboards. You can view cash flows, and you can view lineup of planned commitments with a chart and an overview table. There is an actual commitments input tab where you define all your own existing inputs, commitments, vintages, asset classes, your actual cash flows. There is a tab for planned commitments. Here is where you set up all the necessary inputs for the future commitments, such as your strategies that consist of different asset classes and types, starting commitments, yearly growth of commitments, time span for when you want to plan the commitments, and necessary overrides in case any of these simplified inputs are not enough. You have user controls where you define all your asset classes that you want to use in your model, as well as starting, ending dates, currency. You have pacing assumptions where you, for each of your asset classes and investment types, define the necessary inputs such as growth rates, yield, bow, investment life, and contribution curves. There's target allocation where you define what's your ideal range for each of private markets asset classes, such as buyout, growth, and the model then evaluates the extent to which you're meeting these targets. There are inputs for public markets, and then there are sheets per each actual fund. To create a new fund, you easily just duplicate a tab and then name it. That's all you need to do. And then there are several other supporting tabs. Each of the existing commitments is structured on a separate tab where you have rolling forecasts, actuals, as well as initial projections. The model updates based on actuals so that the curve for contribution is updated after each quarter and reflects whether the goals are coming in faster or slower, and updates based on that to kind of imitate real world scenarios and avoid any kind of unintended peaks in goals or distributions. The model is set up to currently handle 50 different actual commitments and up to 100 planned commitments, and can be easily expanded to handle more. If I go to the planned commitments, you can see that these charts show me that the current planned commitments get the portfolio into the desired state where buyout, growth, real estate, and venture are all within the target bounds. However, if I, for example, changed target allocations, I replace buyout with growth, and I go back to check, I will get notifications that I'm no longer within the bounds, which is also illustrated on this chart. In the allocations tab, I could see that if I pick buyout, check out the green range, buyout is green, then I'm no longer within the desired range for buyout, nor am I there for growth. I can then go to plan commitments. I have already set up these two strategies. I'll collapse it to get more onto the screen, and I can play with the commitments over here. So I know that I need to reduce commitments for buyouts, and I'm still a little too high, so I'll go a little lower. And I'll increase Chrome to, let's say, 1.5. This is an iterative trial and error process. And it seems like I'm almost there. Venture is a little bit above. So I'll go for 0.8 for venture. And this tells me I'm within the ranges for all of these. I see that I already had an applied scaler. That means this is helping me to get my overall portfolio a little higher in relation to public portfolio. If I didn't have 1.2, but I had 1, all my commitments would decrease a little bit, as well as my exposure to private markets would. But I can scale all these commitments up a little bit so that I get from 20% to 27. My target exposure for private markets was 25%, but up to 30, so I'm within the range. There's a ton of other cool features, so don't hesitate to get in touch. I'll be happy to show you all of them and watch the other videos as well.